Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, episode 39, featuring RUKE. Thanks for joining us, RUKE. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, good. Thanks. I'm glad you're able to make it. I'm really excited for episode 39. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us here at Web3 Warriors. I'm David Karoma, your host. I go by Chrome in the Metaverse. And this week, we're looking at talking about, of course, RUKE's amazing creative expressions on the blockchain, which we're going to get into, but also the history of the blockchain. And RUKE is someone who joins us with a little bit of experience going back to Bitcoin from, I believe, 2017. So he's been around the block a little bit. So hopefully he can impart a little bit of wisdom on us. And I'm hoping it can be a great learning opportunity as well for all of our listeners. And so before I get to my questions for RUKE, I want to just kind of share a little bit about my understanding of kind of the past, present, and potential future of the blockchain as we're looking at it. I also want to welcome anybody who's watching in the live chats on YouTube or Twitch. You are welcome to share any questions, any thoughts, feedback throughout the conversation. We also have an NFT giveaway for the most thought-provoking question if that comes up. So definitely love having the live chat option, and anybody who joins us, thank you very much. So yeah, as far as the evolution of the blockchain, right, I often talk about how, it all started with Bitcoin and the Satoshi vision, right, of a decentralized finance and the ability of really not relying on a very flawed and inflationary fiat system, as was seen, in the crash of 2008 and a lot of the things that we've seen even prior to that and since that, when it comes to government kind of messing up currencies. Blockchain was created to kind of be decentralized, international, global in scale, and really just not a type of currency that is not prone to government interference, or is basically protected from government interference and corruption, essentially. And with that decentralized vision, a lot of people debate, where it's evolved to, whether it will ever be like a true world currency, or maybe it'll always be more of a store of value, a digital gold, as it were. So that's an open question, I think, still TBD, right? But looking at the evolution of that from Bitcoin, then you had Ethereum come in, right? And smart contracts and this whole new layer of programmability on the blockchain, which is enabled what we now have as NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which also has enabled a metaverse, digital space to actually be built on the blockchain with true ownership of assets, digital assets, whether it's land in the metaverse, whether it's clothes, wearables, anything you use basically in the digital space can now be an NFT connected to the blockchain and still completely decentralized and owned in your own digital wallet, right? And so that's where we're kind of at right now. And we're seeing this new creator economy that we at Web3 Warriors love to focus on and talk about and interview creators who are busy building in this new space, right? So it's really exciting, but where it goes from here is a little bit of an open question. We know, there's regulations around the blockchain. There's a lot of corporate entities vying for this thing called the metaverse, this thing called Web3, and really trying to kind of define it on their own terms, right? So it's a really exciting conversation. So I'm hoping we're going to get into maybe some potential angles where it might go. But with that, that's kind of my understanding of where we're at now. And it's why I started the podcast also, is to try to push that narrative, right? Because I look at Web3 as very much related to the blockchain and integral, that blockchain has to be part of Web3 and all of this other kind of like 3D scape, digital spaces, metaverses that aren't on the blockchain, that don't have a decentralized wallet connected to it, I would say are not Web3, right? So you have to have that kind of blockchain decentralized finance angle to it in order to really unlock that new layer of the internet that is Web3. But there are those out there who are trying to define Web3 as basically just the metaverse and just the 3D space that is now becoming more and more ubiquitous on the internet, right? So it's important to kind of push back against that narrative, I think, and be clear that Web3 requires financial sovereignty and access to your own digital wallet. So I could ramble on that for the whole hour, but before I do that, let's throw to RUKE and hopefully get some really interesting, different perspectives, and also hear about his awesome project that he's got on the blockchain here. And so Ruke's coming to us with a lot of experience, a trained traditional artist, he says, from since third grade, which is an interesting tidbit of information. And he's got a lot of other awesome resume that he's going to share with us here today as well. So before we throw to that, Ruke, I just want to welcome you so much for joining us here. And maybe before we get into your projects, I'd love to hear just, what brought you to the blockchain, what brought you to Bitcoin those years ago, and what are you looking forward to? But why did you join? Thank you.
Hey, what's up, buddy? I just realized by watching myself on camera, there is something to be said. Don't play a lot of Oculus with Jacko before and your son-in-law before you do an interview. I got Oculus face. You see that?
I didn't notice that. No.
I got the VR face. So I guess I live here. So what's my perspective of Web3?
Well, how did you get to Web3 first and Bitcoin? What brought you into Web3?
First of all, I think it's a natural progression of anybody who plays in technology. I got 10 inventions in the tech space, and one specifically is that I did receive a patent in it on it, and while my stuff is more around the augmented reality, what really got me into it was a different way to interact and immerse, tell stories, and quite frankly live, and connect. So that desire. My patent goes back probably 10, 15 years at this point when we first wrote it, but got received about 10 years ago. And it takes a little bit of a hot minute to get that done. So from that perspective, that's what really kicked it off, Yeah, and actually I was at Oculus 3 days after they Facebook bought them.
Wow.
Doing a deal.
Wow. So your interest in the digital space kind of spurred your interest in Bitcoin, essentially. So you were already kind of building.
I'd say Bitcoin. No, mine was experiences. So my entire interest began with experiences, straight up. How to create more live experiences, how to make video games come to life, and that's really where my patent plays with, is bringing a multiplayer experience to life. That was it. Just out of the creativity of that. My first jump in, besides my own stuff, was doing ICOs in 17.
Okay.
Back in 17. Yeah.
That would have been right around when like those ICOs, that's the initial coin offering for those who don't know, in the crypto space, kind of like IPO in the stock exchange space, right? So that would have been kind of right when those were just starting to pop up, eh?
Yeah, but it was right when it also got slammed. Now they were popping up a little bit, but that's when the SEC, well, that Texas ruled it as a security. SEC said stop. So yeah, that ended really, really fast.
Wild.
Yeah.
So when you look
but from there, I knew of NFTs, and as I was building my project, I knew that was a space that I absolutely wanted to play with, and so I got pretty much not 100% done with my project, but done enough. And then this app called Clubhouse happened, and I met you and the rest of our friends a couple of years ago, and we all I just jumped in. Nothing. It was never the same. I had playmates in this crazy cool place, and it wasn't just from users back, how we play. It was really playmates in business and ideas and support and I work with some of them today. I mean, one of our favorite people runs one of my companies.
Is that Jacko?
Yeah.
Yeah, love Jacko. I gotta have him on the show one of these days.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He says he likes to stay behind the camera, though.
Yeah. We were behind the scenes doing work together for a good over a year before we said, dude, let's really level this up. So awesome. Web3 has always been in that interactions and virtual and that kind of stuff has been very real to me, very real for a very, very long time.
That's awesome. So I love that you kind of come from that gaming background as well, although probably more developer than just a gamer like myself. So that's really...
Actually, no, creative. I'm not a developer. Okay. I know you saw my degree, the TSR 80 from Radio Shack Summer Camp. Yeah, what's up? But that's pretty much... I love that part. That's pretty much where I went right to the creative from that perspective. Yeah. I mean, from the game world, building communities, and communities are huge. I mean, I think the besides Clubhouse, my first real explosion of the community was when this little app called Operator 11 came on, and we were all live streaming. It was like Google Plus, and that was about 17 years ago, with a company called All Games Interactive. Scott Rubin, who's the founder of G4 TV. And we used to crash their servers. And so we met this guy named Justin and said, "Hey, Justin, you're doing this Justin.live, or Justin.tv,
Oh,
and
right.
JustinTV.live."
That
Yeah.
was Twitch, right?
And
Early days of Twitch.
well, we went over to him and said, "Dude, you're doing all this stuff. And every time we do Rainbow Six and all this stuff, we're crashing it on these guys. Can we use yours?" And he said, "Yeah." We started crashing his, and then he went on and made Twitch.
That's exciting. I
It's
love
like,
the Twitch
there's something
story.
really, really cool here.
I know it's
So
owned by
that was
Amazon
my
now, but
first real.
yeah.
Say what?
I was just going to say, I love the Twitch story. I know it's owned by Amazon now, but just the fact that it is so rooted in the gamer community, I'll always be a Twitch guy if I have to choose, you know?
The dude used to have a baseball cap, a camera, a battery pack, and a laptop and run around conventions.
Yeah, I know. I've seen the videos. It's pretty epic. So yeah, looking at that gamer space, right, and the potential for games to take advantage of the blockchain, right? How do you see that evolving, looking into the future? Like, do you think that play to earn, as it currently stands, is kind of something that's going to work into the future, or do you think that there's a model that kind of hasn't been fully fleshed out yet?
I don't know if there's a model. Well, a couple things. When you look at where we are with the Web3, there's always a desire for self-expression, and there's always a desire for uniqueness, and experiences with others, and really connecting in intimate ways. That's what it is. That's where the Xbox Live explosion happened, and the broadcast explosion happened. Clubhouse happened. Web3 is as that as well. And when you look at that, I mean, I look at Web3 as this. Obviously Web1 is one way. You read information. Web2 is back and forth. But Web3 to me is your own, meaning you now have the ability to create something of your own and share it with other people. And that's really, really unique. And that's what's so exciting and addictive and intimate about it. And so there are, games, Roblox. I mean,
Right.
they already have a creator economy there that's amazing. There's always, and they've adapted. I mean, before that, World of Warcraft was huge, but you couldn't do it. You had to be really, really sneaky.
Yeah, they didn't want you to make money on it. People found a way, but you weren't supposed to.
Right. But see, but which was dumb on their part. I mean, that would have ushered in a whole new economy within Web3 before Web3 was happening.
Right.
If Blizzard / Activision now would have let that happen. So, that desire has always been there. And so I already see it now. We already see it now within Roblox is a pretty mature model where you have that. Others, I mean, you got, one of the biggest ones, Call of Duty, out there that we love, crazy skins and all that stuff. Fortnite,
That's true.
Also is a crazy one. And as soon as they let the users, not just the gatekeeping, but the users to start creating stuff, it's going to be a whole new world. And that is where I see where that's going to be.
No doubt. And so do you agree with the sentiment that a lot of these free-to-play games, whether it's Call of Duty, Fortnite, are not, like, they're almost predatory as far as like the way that they have to try to kind of get people to pay in, for loot boxes or whatever the case may be, and then things become too much about profit margin, or no?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I don't even know who said that. No,
basically a Web3 gaming company that is very forward looking, has been framing this kind of like idea to what you just said, right? Like being able to really be led by the community, right? Because if you look at these other games, they're not, like, yeah, people love their skins and maybe they'll give kudos to a specific creator and promote their skin.
I have a whole nother perspective. If you look at Fortnite, I mean, Fortnite, I know, besides the fact that they, Player Unknown. Besides that situation, because Player Unknown was it. I mean, that's what really ushered this in. Right. Until Fortnite changed their model and said, that's a better model. Let's take it. Let's do something with it. I think anybody who thinks it's predatory is lacking a lot of shit in their life. Fortnite has absolute. Here's the deal. Fortnite wouldn't work if it wasn't a good game. They said, screw it.
Right.
Screw it. And it's the most well-built game. It works just like, and it is the first game to go on mobile that worked just as well on mobile as it did everywhere else because they
And
did it
across
right.
platform too, right? Like the fact you
Yeah,
could
yeah,
actually
and they
play
did it
against
right.
mobile people.
So those who sit there and go, "Oh, that's predatorial," is making excuses for their lack of success, and I really,
No
really mean
doubt.
that
No
because
doubt.
if you create content, and here's the key here, and this is what Fortnite did. They created a space that was, it had this, it had that. I mean, it's matured crazy in where the fans want it to go now, and while it's a lot, it's very streamlined from a focus perspective. But it was like a little bit of this, a little bit of this. But what they did was they created experiences that fans were willing to pay for. And how's that predatorial?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, that's
when
true.
people look at that, throw stones or bricks at it, it's because your creative shit sucks.
All
Seriously,
right. Yeah. No,
because
I
I
think that
talk to game
there's,
companies like this,
yeah.
right? It's like, look, great, something that we want to buy,
No, that is the
right?
most
Create a
important
skin,
thing,
an
making them
outfit
fun,
that,
you know? That's been my
yeah,
biggest criticism so far of the Web3 games that are out there, you know? Like, the best ones are just jacking concepts from a current fun game, but the other ones that are trying to start from scratch are just not fun at all. And then it's like, you know, you gotta...
and that's what it is. Games are right now. A lot of the Web3, when you talk about where we are, a lot of it is focused on the technology, and no one ever. So there's a story about this thing called Zoom. Have you ever had a Zoom?
Zune? That's
Zune.
familiar. Yeah, I remember Zune. Yeah.
The most powerful MP3 player. It played with your Xbox. It was perfect. It was amazing. It had a huge hard drive. It worked. It taught when it was advertising. It was talking about all these gigahertz and this much storage and all this fancy stuff. And people said, I don't care.
Right.
I don't understand it. That's dumb, right? And it would not go. And then Apple said, hey, I can give you 1,000 songs in your pocket, and they won.
Right.
And
And
you
everyone
never heard
wanted
of
the
Zoom again.
iPod.
Yeah, and it was an inferior product.
Right.
I mean, leaps and bounds inferior. So when you look at that, and when people start going, here's the tech, and this is what we're building, and this is where we're going, and this is that jargon doesn't really, it's not sustainable.
Mm.
It's not. It's creating an experience that people actually want to give you money for, and that's where we are also with Web3. People are paying a premium price, and this is why it's exciting.
Mm.
People are paying a premium price for a premium experience, but most people forget to deliver that premium experience.
Right. And it's
We're
hard when
trained to buy this
when you
stuff.
get all the money up front too, right? So now it's like you're basically resting on your laurels. Like I could just walk away from this and take the money or I could actually invest all this money in executing the thing I said I was going to execute, you know?
Well, you say it's hard. I'm not sure what you mean.
No, I'm not saying it is hard, but unfortunately we're seeing situations, you know, sometimes where it seems like some projects are that money doesn't seem to get invested the way that they claim they were going to invest it, right?
No, see, that's and again where we are with Web3. My biggest cast of it is Uncle Ben or whatever, whichever comic rendition you read. But with great power comes great responsibility. And Web3 gives us that great power.
Mm.
Some people have used it really, really horribly, and others are using it in an amazing way.
Yeah.
And so, just like anything else, you just got to keep your eyes open. You can't believe what you hear. You got to look a couple layers deep. You got to, do your own research, quote unquote. But I mean, when people start promising you shit that's never gonna, like crazy.
Yeah, no, it gets
Just
wild.
follow
But
your same basic rules of life.
yeah.
You'll be great.
No doubt. Well, I'm just looking forward to a Web3 gaming ecosystem that is as fun as Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, but does have a little bit more of that reward for the community, does have the ability to integrate, community members' creations into the metaverse, and actually have them be tradable and sellable and all that fun stuff, but all the fun factor of traditional gaming that we love. So we'll see. TBD.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. All right, so I did want to talk a little bit about the future of the blockchain, but before we get into that, I want to hear about your awesome projects. I know your main one I have up on the screen right now is the SIN project.
I see what you're showing.
Yeah.
By the way.
So it's the SIN project, a dark fantasy love story haunting the theater of
I
your
was
mind.
I was asking a tech question. All I see is my face. How do I get to see what you're seeing?
You have to tune in on the stream at Web3 Warriors on twitch.tv. I'll send you the link right now.
Just send me the link to that, Don.
But yeah, so can you share a little bit of details about your SIN project? And basically, what's the inspiration behind it would be my first question.
God, the inspiration. Let me make sure this doesn't do any sound, by the way. Okay, cool. Um, Sin, it's my story. It's my personal experience. It's categorized as a dark love story haunting the theater of your mind. And I'm an artist, so I had a lot of fun, and with my younger years, I had a little bit of a destructive attitude because of my own selfishness, which was triggered by losing my high school sweetheart. And I looked at the bottom, and I jumped right in. And I lived
Mm.
there for a hot minute, and I loved it, and in a lot of ways I thrived there. And I knew one day I would not be here, and so I wrote it down and with sketches and words and that in my own diary. And so, and then I wrote a screenplay back in '08, but I put it on the shelf going, I'm not ready to share it, but I wanted to document it. And so then, honestly, my daughter approached me and says she wants to do a creative studio, or I'm sorry, a film studio. And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And as we were doing that, she picked this, and I was like, oh crap. And so we this is what we built. We got three manuscripts behind it, but before we did that, I wanted to do something personal. I wanted to tell my story and really put my art out there in a way that lays the kind of the foundation. And so I look at it as, what if you found Darth Vader's diary, or well, actually, really more the Joker's diary, you know? And so that's what this is. It's freaking awesome. It's beautiful. It's 250 pages of fine art,
Wow.
and we call it a journal of art because that's what it is. It's not your traditional graphic novel where you have bubbles talking all that. Every page, if you scroll down a little bit, I'll
Mhm.
show you. You just hover down there. That's why I say that. Now I can see you. If you scroll down on the page, you can see it'll flip through the pages
Yeah, these
on the
pages
website.
here.
Yeah, I got a little. We'll wait for the delay. Thank you, Twitch. Come on, Justin. Put more power behind it. Now, anyway, yeah, it's behind the music, underneath the music and all that stuff. So you look at it, it's very, very immersive. It's pretty. That's kind of like how I like to do it, and it's a very personal, what I would say, real story.
Very cool. Inspired by
Yeah.
your experiences. And, that's a recurring theme as far as having a creative project or expression, of your life that you then take off the shelf and bring onto the blockchain. That's a recurring theme throughout our interviews here, I have to say.
Think that, well, first, some of the greatest art comes from that, and any good storytelling comes from some experience. Whether you have a little bit of something and you lean into it, or others you freaking lived it and then you filter it down to be able for people to receive it. And this is very true. There's no filters here. um that's the drive and the passion that we have, and I think that's what makes artists breathe every day, quite frankly. I personally believe by showing your scars you can help others see their way through, and so this has helped a lot of people know that they're not alone, that they can see their way through, and they can get past the mistakes in their life, so on and so forth. Others, it's given empathy. Yeah, it's a cool thing.
That's
And
really
and what
awesome.
Web3 has really done for me is it has allowed me to jump into music. Oh my God, I've been doing music for about a year now, maybe a little bit more over a
Okay, so
year.
you weren't
But
into music before NFTs?
oh God, no,
Oh,
no, I wouldn't have the no.
awesome.
NFTs gave me the permission.
Wow. So what
Because
have you learned? Like all the music on your NFTs are made by you though, right?
100%.
Wow. I
Yes.
I assumed you were a musician before because it seems
Only
very
the
it
piano
all
for
fits
you.
the ambiance so well. Like you have experience doing that.
So you said privately trained. So I say my parents gave me. So when I was in kindergarten, I drew this picture of George Washington, and everybody liked it. And so I told mom I didn't want to be Superman. I want to be an artist. And so that was my focus. And in the third grade, my parents really saw that because I got the ADD, dyslexia, and all the wonderful gifts.
Hmm.
And so this was one thing that I excelled at. And so they were encouraged to give me private lessons. And so
Nice.
I've been doing art my entire life. What I do today, I've been doing my entire life. And one of my main gift is I can take whatever vision I have and make it real. And so whether that is painting, drawing, animation, film, and now evidently music. And so I always have a clear vision. I am not. Someone put me on a Clubhouse panel once, David, and they were like, "Will you come talk?" Sure, because I'm like, I don't care. And they were talking about artist block, and it came to me, and guys, I'm struggling. I've never had artist block. I don't know what that is. I hear about it. I get it. I can have empathy towards it, but I've never not had an idea. I've never not had a solution because this is what I do 24/7. Ask Jacko. I call him at 3 o'clock in the morning and I say goodnight to him about 7 o'clock in the evening every day.
Wow.
That's nighttime, not English.
Yeah, I was going to say that's like the opposite for him. He's 6 hours behind you or whatever.
He's experienced it a lot. I don't stop. I never shut off. I don't want to. In my sleep, I work. I paint, draw, do the music and while I sleep. Wake up, get here in the studio about 3 o'clock in the morning, just crank it on out.
Yeah. Well, I think there is something to be said about writer's block, quote unquote, just being a state of mind, it's one thing to not be able to write specifically what you want to write in that moment, but it's another thing to block all creativity,
Like I said, I guess I can understand. It's just never happened to me. I'm always very, very clear of what I want to do, what I want to produce, what effect I want to have. And so when I lean into that, it just flows out. Yeah.
Nice. So when you went back to this project that you had shelved, and you're saying your daughter had come to you with wanting to do a creative project, and when you kind of took it off the shelf, was it did it take a lot of extra work, or did you think about like how is this going to matter on the blockchain? Like, did you kind of conceptualize it from a blockchain perspective?
Yeah, I think, as I say, play maybe I think reality, which is the
episode one. Sure, we want to play that right now.
That'll show the music. It shows about, and that talks about, that's our docu-series. And by the way, I got the third one in edit right now. And when we did the docu-series, we didn't want it to be, here's RUKE, look at the cool stuff he does. It speaks to what we all relate to is, reality and what is reality. And so I love the way that this is handled. And my daughter filmed it, edited it. I did all the effects and music and spoke on it. Cool. But going back to your question, why you tee that up? No, not at all. I think that's one of the mistakes where people are making and will not have longevity when they focus on the tech, not the work. When they focus on a very specific, because understand, there's great successes on with NFTs and all that, and there's more failures than successes.
Mm-hmm.
And
but it's not failure; it's just learning experience, right?
Okay, no, I'm gonna say failures because I think people have jumped into it for the wrong reasons. I think people have executed, they've rug pulled, they did all that stuff. So, but that's not unlike the world, right? That's not unlike what I would say the mainstream is. And so when I did this, no, I focused mainstream. I said, this is a mainstream, and it is. I mean, it's going mainstream, and it has been mainstream, and it's made a lot of money in the mainstream. And so I focused it on a mainstream thing. Now, when it came to the Web3, I treated NFTs differently. Now, and I used the technology for the right reasons. I didn't use, and I'm using. So a lot of people go, you can do this and this, so we should just use all this. No, use what makes sense and enhances your experience. It's kind of like Photoshop has 1,000 filters, and people just go filter for the filter. Just because it's in front of you doesn't mean you have to use it.
Right.
And so from my stuff, what I'm using the blockchain for very specifically is ownership. And so when you buy my stuff, I give you my filters, I give you my textures, because it's all original. Everything you see here, I created. It's no stock. Cool. There's even the music. There's no, garage band loops and all. No, it's all. I mean, the sounds I make. I have a whole laboratory of crap that I make. Sounds and turn them into music. And so the ownership is important. So I give you commercial rights to my textures and all this stuff, and I give you my stems, and I give you commercial rights to take these stems and create whatever you want. That's an incredible way to use the blockchain because you can track it, you own it, you can prove it. Therefore, I can give it. And so that is unlike, I don't do that for the mainstream.
No doubt. That makes sense
Make it
as
a
far
song
as
and make it a
getting
book.
those, yeah, getting that creative opportunity to really take what you've built and put your, creative effort into and actually use it and maybe monetize it, or even just for promotional reasons, whatever you might find useful for it. That's really exciting. All right, I've got this queued up, so we'll definitely we'll play this right now. It's a really cool. Like, I watch it and I think that you've got some production experience, so you clearly know what you're doing between you and your daughter. Yeah. All right. So the people watching on screen, you're going to get a lucky look at this, and the audio is still really cool too. So we're going to keep it in the podcast. And yeah, thanks, RUKE, for sharing. Here we go.
There's times we run to the theater of our mind for safety, and we play out what others can't see or would believe, because that's our reality. That's our reality. They can't tell you it's not real. They can't tell you it's not happening. It's your safe place. Sometimes it's your destructive place. Those emotions sit there and breed. Sometimes dream. I really do believe that sometimes what lies beyond the lens of our eyes isn't our true reality. It's what's up here. That's what's real.
Beautiful. Powerful. Sasha's in the chat said that it was beautifully done. She was looking at your other pieces as well, and she also remembers Zune. Oh, your mic is muted there.
Oh, I was listening along. Remembers what?
Zune, the MP3 player.
Yeah, that was a nice little blip. I appreciate that. So this is, for me, the book. Well, and this is also part of investing in your own project before you ask everybody else to invest. Before I did the NFT, the novel was done. All 250 pages were done.
Nice.
And these docuseries were done. These were part of telling the story. I mean, they're great marketing pieces, but they're a way to connect with the audience to show you how real this project is. And like I said, episode 3 is being edited right now. It's amazing. I actually skipped a couple chapters to highlight the tribute to my wife. And you said, yeah, I know what I want. Yes,
Beautiful.
and you saw my bio.
Yeah.
My third date.
RUKE wanted to make sure we all know that he proposed to his wife 3 months after their first date. So when he knows what he wants, he knows what he wants. Or he married her 3 months after.
3 months after our first date, and it's been amazing, crazy, cool. 26, 27 years.
That's amazing, man. Awesome. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. She's awesome. And so I know what I want. So we had all that done, and connecting with the audience in an authentic way, and let this story live out, because we have the books and all this stuff coming. After we're done letting this run, that's the real stuff. I mean, this is how you do it. This is how you launch a creative project.
Yeah,
and of course, I'm having the time of my life playing with it, and fell in love with doing music now.
That's awesome. I love that NFTs like pushed you into music. You feel like it gave you permission.
I know, and that's weird, right? Because I'm pretty unlimited. I do whatever I want. I own my own time. I own my own stuff. I get to do whatever I want. And it was more comfort. And I asked, I wrote this more kind of a lyrical book. And I knew I wanted it to be something. Well, I knew there's going to be songs attached to it when I wrote this journal of art. And it's actually came out. God, this is how this actually happened. So Victoria was finishing up the 3 manuscripts, and we knew we wanted to take it and take the screenplay, mash it to do a playwright, to do a tour. So like, sure, let's do this. And we're like, oh wait, we got to have music. So, and musics aren't going to go with the book necessarily, word for word. It's got to have lyrics. So I wrote all that, and I wrote all the lyrics basically in 4 hours. This entire thing in 4 hours.
Wow.
Again, ask Jack. I just don't stop. And I also had extreme clarity, right? Because I've been working on this. And so I took it and I created, and someone from the music industry say, hey, what you doing, Rick? And talk to me while I'm doing this. You want to see it? Well, let me put some pictures. to it because I'm a visual. That's how I communicate. And so I put it to it, and they liked it. I liked it, and I said, shoot, why don't we just let me finish this and make this something because I can knock this out fast while we're getting all this other stuff. And so I did it, and people loved it. We sold them. It's how I got the word. I own the word SIN, by the way. It's how we got the registered trademark because we have proof of use. I was sold the first novels.
Wow.
And it's like this variation. And someone saw it and said, hey, I want you to come to Vegas, Sin City, and do a TEDx on this.
Oh my goodness. Of course. How was nobody registered the word SIN? That's wild. That's wild.
I know, right there is my registration. And so they asked me to do a TEDx, and I said, oh, no way. And I knew my daughter would be mad at me. So I said, okay, let me talk to my daughter. She's like, you better. I'm like, okay, fine, we'll do it. And so that got canceled because of COVID. And I said, well, then why don't we take the monologue and the art that we created, and why don't I just mature it? Why don't I take about a month or 90 days max. And as I did it, David, that's when I realized the project was more than me. And I called her and I said, I got to give this the time it needs to be. And so I basically took that year and did this book, working 60 hours a week minimum on this book every single day, 7 days a week for over 360 days. And this is the result of that. And so that's when it was done. And I said, now I'm ready to share this with the world because it's really, really, really where it needs to be. And that's how I do stuff.
That's amazing.
I got to take it. Yeah.
So did you ever get to reschedule that TED Talk?
Yes.
Yes?
It's a TEDx. Yes, we did it. We did it a year later.
Oh, nice.
And I did a reading of this.
Cool. So that we can find that on YouTube somewhere?
Yes, and if you are an NFT owner, you get it, and I will be releasing it because it's more the performance. Here, that's why we built it. I'm not allowed to say this. See, Jack, no one knows this. What we're doing in that theater. I know what I'm doing in the theater. They're doing their own thing for the theater, but I know what I'm doing. That's where I'm going to premiere it and let it play.
Beautiful. There. Well, I got to be there at that premiere. So you talked about it. Let's segue over to your theater in the Voxels metaverse, the Mind's Eye Theater, run by RUKE here. And it sounds like Jocko and Jagar are helping pull it together. Jagar's been on the show a couple times, actually. We love Jagar here. But look at this theater, the Mind's Eye Theater in the metaverse. It's a beautiful thing, really. So tell us about it. So you just gave us a little bit of alpha on what you plan to do here, but what do you foresee? Yeah. What do you foresee at the Mind's Eye?
So there's 2 places in this. Okay, we're not done yet. We're finishing up. We got to put the art on the side and all that. But if you go through the theater, well, first of all, look, it's me, right? I wanted something that's totally different, that's gothic, that has a touch of class to it, but very dark. And it's a venue. And by the way, when I say this, I have all the references. This is in my book. This is in the movie. What happens is there's a lonely old theater, and it calls you to enter it. And when you do, it comes to life. And now you're in the theater of the main character's mind, where his realities play out in front of you, and what's the quote unquote real world plays on the screen, and he goes back and forth to that duality, that portal. That's the short story. But what I wanted to create was that in the metaverse. And Jagar and Jack have done it. And Jagar is an artist on building all this ridiculously talented. And it's coming together good. But here I want you to show you. If you go to the bottom right-hand corner, just fly down to the bottom. That's the main screen. That's where we're going to show stuff. And this is a place to premiere stuff, premiere art and all that. But if you fly, maybe you did. I know I'm behind here on the screen. You see that little hole? Yeah, that's our speakeasy.
Oh yeah, that's Jagar style. He's got the secret little spot underneath.
Yeah. Well, this is something I wanted to have because, that's why I love the parcel. When I knew it had a basement, I'm like, done, because this is where I'm going to show all. And I know the lights right now they're turned on because he's tweaking it. It'll be dark like the others. This is where I'm going to showcase all my friend stuff. This is where we're going to have like private parties. This is where we're going to have like the really crazy cool stuff.
Wow. That's awesome. So you're going to have art all along the walls here and everything?
God, yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Show my collection off here of all my NFTs, that kind of stuff. And so
that's what's up. The speakeasy.
Spots. Yeah, it is a speakeasy. Absolutely. And so there's three spots. There's a permanent collection, which is on the side hallway for SIN, and then the main hall is we're just going to have different events there. So it's a venue, like I said, it's a venue. And then the speakeasy is going to be all the private parties.
That's awesome, man.
So,
Really, really cool. That's a good
it's a
vision for the
collaborative
metaverse.
space. Well, see, right now in the metaverse we have, look, I got to do it my way, right? But we have a lot of the great shiny, glitchy, bright colors, which is cool. If you look at my wallet, I got a lot of that stuff in it. But I believe there's also people who really find beauty in more the darker stuff, and I do. I love darker stuff. Now, I'm not talking pornographic. I'm not talking gore. I'm not none of that kind of stuff. I'm just talking stuff that's on the darker emotional stuff. You know, I'm not even going to say horror. I'm not really into that.
More like esoteric and gothic kind of taboo, maybe a little bit taboo.
And I feel that, like, my bands, I love Nine Inch Nails, A Perfect Circle, The Cure, those are my top three.
No doubt.
And I believe when people tell stories like this, there's a truth behind it. Now, I don't subscribe to all of it, like with my beliefs, but I respect and love it because there's a truth behind it. They're not holding back. And I think there's something incredibly honorable with darker stuff because it is talking from an emotional side. It is telling a truth. And it doesn't have to be your truth, but there's an honesty about that. And that's why, you're looking at my theater, I guess. You're looking at my studio, how I work. My entire home looks like this. I surround myself with it.
That's amazing. And do you foresee this Mind's Eye Theater as an actual like metaversal theater that you might rent out or you might offer to other creators to use?
Yeah, I don't know about rent because I don't care about that.
Right.
But no, that's what I meant by a venue. Absolutely, because there's other projects out there that are on the darker side that won't look so good in the pop, spectrum.
So those looking for a specific kind of ambiance or theme.
Exactly. Well, look, okay, let's talk business. All right.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, again, I don't suck at this. I've been doing this my entire life, and I'm true to me. It's you can look at that and go, that's RUKE, and the point of what I'm doing is I want to let people, I'm doing something different, but I'm also being true, and that truth resonates with people and it draws people in. So I built this because there's not a space for darker kind of stuff. If you look at it, it stands out different from anything that's out there right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And look, I'm not going to say I'm the only one, because as soon as you say you're the only one, you're not. So I'm not saying that, but this stands out. And if you look at what's being built in the metaverse, here's the business part. And then, by the way, this is the whole story too. A lonely theater with a glowing entry that calls you to enter, right? And that can go a whole lot of metaphorical ways. But that's what enters you into the theater, the Mind's Eye Theater, which is the theater of my mind specifically. That's what this does. So if you're just scrolling around, voxels, because, there's no traffic. And people do look around, and some people do just, go different places. It's going to call you in. Are you compelled to go into all these other people's places? Maybe, right? But if you see this, you can go, well, I'm going to check it out.
Right.
That's business 101. Create an experience that people want to see. Create an experience that's going to make people want to go see it and just check it out without having to sell them, without having to, all those other things. That's what this is. Yes, there's other people that are going to go, my art would look great in there. And I'm going to go, great, let's have a party. The venue's yours.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool.
Do you agree? Scroll around.
That's what's up. No, definitely. I've never seen a theater. I think I've seen I've definitely seen one other theater, but it did not look like this at all. And it was very much like a traditional red chairs and trying to be like a movie theater that you'd walk into today. Whereas this does have a kind of classical vibe and like you said, kind of gothic and darker. And I definitely like the blue/purple color scheme. It's really, really dope.
That's
and the chandeliers, like that's some Jagar specialty right there. You got the flames going, the chandeliers looking nice.
We added that. Yeah. Well, so this is modeled. The inside of this, the outside is modeled after the marquee's modeled after Siegel theater in New Orleans because I
Okay.
love New Orleans. It's my wife's favorite place and all that stuff. The inside of this is modeled after John Ringling's theater on his property in Sarasota, Florida. Because I went to Ringling, and we used to play in this theater and all this stuff. So it's like, yeah, I like this old kind of theater.
Nice.
So I took kind of the different little models and matched them, and then of course,
Yeah, I love the balconies. They're very retro looking.
Right. Thank you. A lot of thought went into this. A lot of thought from a design conceptual to obviously execution. And so, but that's when you said there's another theater there and it looks like a real theater. Why do you want real?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And and that's what, and
now that I mentioned, yeah.
It's kind of what look at those sleazy stuff, right? It's not real. It's got some real aspects to be cultural, right? But why do you want to reproduce real in a space that you have no rules? Break the freaking rules. Do what you want. Do something that probably would not exist anywhere else.
No doubt. No doubt.
You want some substance so people can wrap their mind around and go, oh, I know what that is. But yeah.
Yeah, it was actually in Decentraland. I'm remembering now. It was for David Bianchi had his film thing that he did like a film thing there, and it was like very trying to be kind of mainstream. I would say it was looking like your typical theater, but it was cool to be a theater. It was probably the first theater I had jumped in on the Web3 metaverse. So, but yeah, I really like what you're doing here. The roof with the stars, and yeah, it's a whole vibe. It's very cool. Would you say that Crypto Voxels is currently your favorite metaverse, or do you have a favorite? Corner of the metaverse, if you want to look at it that way.
It's a place I own land, so I have to say it's my favorite. Yeah. I like Crypto Voxels because it's punk rock. It's kind of like why I liked Tez and Hickenuk. It's why I liked Hickenuk in the beginning. It was just punk rock.
Yeah.
I feel Crypto Voxels is there, and so when you're talking about look, I don't think Call of Duty is ever going to get into NFTs. They're not going to get into doing their own currency and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to, right? Why shift the business model? They're not,
right.
I don't believe they really will, unless everybody else does and they have to. Someone's going to, you know what I mean? The marketplace is going to have to force them to, and the marketplace is not asking for it. When you're looking at Crypto Voxels, there's all these mainstream things. There's these meta malls. There's all these crazy stuff, hoping if you build it, people will come, which is not going to happen. It doesn't happen. Like you remember what I said from the beginning, there's nothing magical about this. It's a way to interact with an incredible intimate experience with your fans. That's what this metaverse and Web3 is about. It's not building, they come. So when you build this stuff, when I looked at where to build it and what I want to own, everything else, this is freedom. Crypto Voxels lets you do whatever you want. It's
right.
Punk rock. So this is where the artists play. This is where the artists come. This is where the artists experiment with stuff without the big other things, their virtual HOAs and corporate crap.
Right.
Which I'm not against that stuff, but I want to hang out the artist.
That's what's up. No, definitely. Crypto Voxels is punk rock. I like that. I'm going to take that from this interview for sure. Because it's true. I mean, I look at ironically, the one that calls themselves Sandbox is not as true of a real sandbox compared to Voxels, Like Voxels, I feel is a real sandbox. Like everything you want to build, you build it. And once you build it, you can trade it, you can sell it, you can own it, you can do whatever you want with it completely, decentralized and sovereign ownership of these digital assets you're building. Whereas I look at Decentraland, I look at Sandbox, they have very clear guardrails, you must fit into this box, you must follow this process, and you will be limited here, and here, and your cost is way, sky high up there. So there's all these kind of limitations. Now, obviously, they would say they're going for higher fidelity. Maybe they are trying to appeal to more corporations or quote unquote celebrities, things like that. It's a real interesting kind of evolution of the Web3 metaverse that we're playing with right now. And I would agree for sure. Voxels is kind of the punk, it's the underground hip hop. It's the real just nitty gritty community. We're going to build this and have fun here. We don't care, anything. Everybody can jump in. You can get it on your phone. That's a big part about it too, right? The accessibility.
Yeah. So when you're building out things of this nature, there's three things. There's the number one thing that people miss is creative expression. That's what we value.
Mm-hmm.
2, community, and 3, ownership. That's where, if you have those three things, and the ownership is us, not them. When you have those three things combined, that's where the Web3 projects, companies, so on and so forth are going to win. Crypto voxels is all three of those.
Yeah. Creative expression, ownership. What was the third one?
Community.
Community, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a word that I know, right? It's become like buzzword.
Well, it means that you can easily hang out and with your friends, find your friends and all that. Not community as, not the BS word. I'm talking about where, you can gather and do your thing with the least amount of rules, least amount of restrictions.
Yeah. And bring your people in and trade with your folks and do a whole like micro economy. Yeah.
And Crypto Voxels recognizes that. They're like, this is y'all's. We'll build a space. We got to get some money, right? And y'all need to get some money, but it's y'all's space. The others are coming from their own self. I mean, look, I've been a part of these projects and I've left a lot of them because they're gross. Like, oh, we can make money and we can control it. It's like, that's not what this is about. That's not what this era is about.
No doubt. I agree. And I think it is kind of gross, unfortunately. But like you said, that stuff happens in every corner of the economy, not just in the Web3 digital world, right? Exactly. Awesome. So I did want to pick your brain just a little bit because I recall you having some connections in the regulatory world, right? And I know it's a little bit of a nerdier subject, but I'm very interested in the future of the blockchain, and like, because the biggest thing that why I love the blockchain so much is the immutability. But the immutability does come with a big asterisk, right? So the big asterisk being access to the blockchain, which is really just access to the internet. And then the second asterisk really being regulations and the idea, the notion that government can tomorrow decide that, cryptocurrencies writ large are illegal and a threat to the state or whatever the case may be. How do you foresee the evolution of blockchain? I don't think they're going in that direction. Looking at the CBDC conversation, which is the central bank digital currency, which is not a cryptocurrency, a little bit different. But the whole conversation seems to at least acknowledge the supremacy of distributed ledger technology, which is blockchain broadly, right? Where do you think it's going? I don't know.
Yeah. Before you go down this rabbit hole, because not many people are going to like me afterwards, I want to say, play Hustle for me.
Okay.
Not right now. But tee that up next because we went dark. I want to show you some of this is my next thing that I'm doing. It is going on the blockchain.
All right. I'll tee that up. Where do you think we're going?
Well, first of all, we are exactly where I was afraid we're going to go. And if you remember, I mean, when did we meet? A year ago, 2 years ago?
A year and a half. Yeah. First days of blockchain gospel.
Yeah. This is before blockchain gospel existed when I was going, hey, y'all, what y'all about to do is going to go really, really bad. You're being stupid. And I got so much pushback. I'm like, guys, the Web3 doesn't mean it's lawless. Yeah. Right. Just because you have a series of numbers and it doesn't identify you as John or Adam, they're still going to find you. You're still on a server somewhere. And it's all, sure. And so here we are. So, the future of blockchain depends on, and I'm just going to say this, it depends who's in the Senate, the House, and the presidency. Biden has come very, very hard against this stuff. And there's always going to be a threat. But, one is control, the other is freedom. I'm trying not to get political, but I'm just telling you, he's the one that made the mandate. But
hasn't the other side said they hate Bitcoin too? I feel like Trump was talking about how evil Bitcoin was, wasn't he?
No. Trump has NFTs.
Okay.
And I'm not saying go for Trump. I'm just saying they're less government. They're less regulatory, right? So that freedom. If we're going to succeed in this, we have to have people who go, less regulations. Mm-hmm. So they cut regulations, Democrat, and it used to not be that, by the way. The party started opposite. But get to this. First of all, I'm going to give you a fact so you understand this, and most people don't understand this. It is 100% illegal to raise capital, to give an offer of security. Did you know that?
I know in the American context, yes.
Yeah. I'm focused on America.
Yeah.
And so it's illegal to offer security. That's why, and it was outlawed in the Great Depression when people were selling all these junk bonds and all this crap. And it sounds like Web3, right? So making all these promises, it's going to do this and didn't do shit. right? A lot of rug pulls. And that's when they outlawed it. And they said, but we do recognize that people need capital. They need a way to fund their project. So if you file with us and do these certain things, you can get an exemption. So when you're raising capital, you have to file an exemption and you have to follow the rules of those exemptions. So come to here, you can't say weird things like a promise or a guarantee, you know, you're going to get 10x your money. People are breaking the law left and right. So the SEC is not going to say this is how you need to be. If they write rules around cryptocurrencies, they're going to say good or bad. If they write things around NFTs, they're going to say good or bad. But what I'm saying, the standard rules are already there. What it is it's the person that's doing the project steps into the bad or stays into the good.
Right.
And so that's important because it's not like they have to do anything because the rules are there.
Yeah. And that's specifically around the security conversation and the promise of financial gains in the future and all that kind of crazy stuff people talk about.
Any financial gain, all that. There's also that takes it into a security rule. And when you're doing securities, there's the bad actor rules. You know how many rug pulls would have stopped if people would disclose who they were? And that's illegal. When you're doing a security, that's illegal. So there's these regulations. It does protect people too.
Right.
There's a way to do this.
Yeah.
That said, when you're looking at what you can do, what you can't do, when you're looking at what they're looking at, the argument right now is who's going to enforce it. That's the conversation they're having because the bad actors are breaking SEC rules, federal trade rules. They're breaking treasury rules. So all this is being broken. So they're like, okay, are you going to go after this? Who's going to really pay attention to this? And obviously the SEC is the leader in that. So consumer protection, I'm telling you, that's what has been going on, just like back in the Great Depression. So they're going to start doing stuff. When you have Biden, they wanted over $600, anything over $600, they wanted to be able to go to your bank account without a warrant, which is crazy.
That's wild, yeah.
Right? And with the 86,000 IRS agents, throw an algorithm in that, you're screwed. Now, there's pushback, it's 10 grand, but still, that's a serious number that they go without a warrant. That's crazy. So what that means is they're going to throw an algorithm there, and they're going to see what you're doing. They got enough people, they can come after you. And I'm not trying to be scary. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, just be aware what we're working for freedom, and the good actors are getting screwed by the bad actors. And this would not be on the radar this fast. But you know, we were live on Clubhouse going, "You're going to get us in trouble." I got the names, I got documents going. That's the bad actor. That's the bad actor.
And we've seen some of them already getting the tap on the shoulder by the SEC, right?
Yeah, and people are going to, you know, fuck it. It's the blockchain. They can't catch freedom. But no, it ruins the party for everybody. Hold on, Dave. It ruins the party for everybody. So don't suck. Go ahead.
No, I hear you. No, and you know, when it comes to the politics of it, I have little faith in both sides of the equation. I don't know that any side is going to be more safe than the other, but I do think that the technology, importantly, is proving itself already, right? So when it's the distributed ledger, whether it's the CBDCs, the technology of the blockchain, decentralized, accountable, transparent, digital, is already unstoppable, right? So the question then becomes like,
yeah, but they're not coming after that.
Right.
That's not a problem.
Right.
And the government's using that. That's great. The technology part is amazing.
Yeah,
it's really comes down to how people are selling the assets that are attached to this. And that's why I focus on great experiences. That's why I focus on the art. That's why I also produce it before I sell it. That's important stuff. If you focus on that, not get caught up on how much money you make and all this kind of stuff. I mean, because understand, even as an artist, forget the blockchain and Web3, as an artist, you have to create good stuff or no one buys it. You have to keep producing stuff. You got to look at the next level of experiences. You have to market it. So attach to the blockchain and create more premium stuff, it's a gold mine. It's amazing. When you start crossing over the other stuff,
word.
Yeah, watch out.
Yeah, so that's why I focus on the creator economy and not this crazy, let's go to the moon, we're all gonna win, we're all gonna like make 10x this year, this month, this week, whatever the case might be. I want to give a shout out to Let Me Out Productions. What up, Kamani and Sasha? He was Kamani was saying, I'd argue that there's plenty of bad ethics, but without clarity on the purview, and sometimes maybe people are unintentionally being led astray, unfortunately.
I think the majority of the of things that have gone bad are the majority are out of ignorance. The others out of selfishness and purposeful ignorance, deliberate ignorance. Going, I don't want to know it, and screw it. It's a new way to do stuff. And the other is absolute malice.
Yeah, no doubt. And there is there's a bit of both for sure. There's a bit of both. Yeah. But on the fundamental future of Bitcoin, and then importantly Ethereum as well. Others we might have to more nuanced conversation, but both Bitcoin, they're both like so fully established, so fully decentralized. Are you confident? Are you confident in their immutability? Is my question.
Well, absolutely not. That's my whole point. See, people were going, it's the blockchain. You can't finance. You can't regulate. You can't stop that bullshit. The United States claims. Do you understand this? They claim Ethereum. They claim regulatory globally. So they're going.
And is the Ethereum board okay with that? They agree with that?
It doesn't matter no, you don't have to agree with it. That's the silly part. You don't have to. If you have these people in the office that think they have the right to, they're going to write. They're just doing it. They have already claimed. They said the majority of the transactions of Ethereum are done here in the United States. So therefore, we claim jurisdiction over it. It's done.
Yeah.
It's not future. It's done.
Yeah, it's done on paper, but in practicality, what does that actually mean for the whole Ethereum network? Does it impact its immutability long term?
They can shut it down. They can shut down OpenSea. They can stop it from trading. That's what they did in the ICOs.
So they can shut down major elements, but ultimately the network lives on, right?
Well, So if the majority of the market is America and the majority of the technology is ran and transacted in America, and then that shut down, will it still exist outside those walls? Yeah, of course, until other countries jump on board. But what's the point?
Well, the point is the technology is helping people.
What's the point? We're all going to use VPNs and sneak around the government and hide it.
Yeah, I think that is what would happen if they tried to shut down Ethereum.
I know there are people like that.
Yeah,
I know there are people. I'm just not like that. And if you're talking about trying to make to make this a mass adoption, it's done. It's over.
Yeah.
I mean that's what I'm saying. So that's why I said, what's the point if you're shut down?
But the main important caveat there is that shutting down Ethereum at this point would hurt the American economy more than help it. And I don't foresee a future where shutting down the Ethereum network actually is of benefit to America. I don't see any possibility for that.
I don't see them ever. Okay, I mean they've shut this stuff down before, right? So we're just so hypothetically right now.
Of course.
but I don't think. For you to say it would hurt the economy, obviously for the last year, they don't give a shit about the economy.
I don't know. It's interesting. Point. There's a U.S. dollar, right?
We don't run off the Ethereum. We're not that big. We're a blip on the economy.
Yeah.
In our bubble, it's a big deal. Outside that, it's nothing. Yeah. It's nothing.
But, it can't be nothing with regulators. Regulators are obsessing over it right now, right? They want to lay that groundwork. And we're looking at a geopolitical scenario where the U.S. dollar continues to strengthen in comparison to a lot of these other dollars and currencies, right? And you have now in comes blockchain, in comes the Ethereum and Bitcoin networks, which both are almost fully backed by US dollar coin, right? US stable coins. So you have this entire new industry that's basically creating GDP out of nothing, out of thin air on the blockchain, all with the express backing of the US dollar. So there's no reason for America to turn around and take this amazing engine that is being built internationally, that's impacting different corners of the globe, all connected to the US dollar, which is basically buoying the dollar at a time when inflation is killing all these other currencies, right? I don't foresee a future where that's going to be advantageous to shut down,
What you just said was ridiculously logical. And
Thank you.
The fuck have they acted logical?
All right. I feel you.
No, seriously, it's control. I hope it doesn't go. It's going to happen. I'm sorry. It's already happening. It's going to happen, and that's where it's going. So let me say that. So it is. They're already doing it. But they're going to control it. They're going to ledger it. They're going to tax it. They're already doing all that kind of stuff. So what does this mean? Let's go to the positive of this, right? Because we can't stop it, and it can't stop it. It's more fear based than actual factual based. I get that. Again, that's what I said. What you said was very logical. So that's why. So what you can do is so like if you're talking about taxes, one, if you're paying taxes, that means you're making money. That's cool. And the absurd, incredible profit margins that people were paying and how much they were making, just take a part of that percentage and understand and redo your financial strategy around that. If you're talking about, creating incredible art, doing a way that you have the sovereignty of your anonymity of yourself there with giving ownership, trackability, the ledger, all that's important stuff. If people want to do art that way, which I do, and I think it's amazing, it's still there. It's just going to change a little bit. But if you concentrate on that good stuff, you're going to be great because people want this great stuff. People want incredible, intimate experiences, and that's not going to go away. And right now, the blockchain with the crypto is definitely the best way to do it. It's the premier way to do it. And, we'll shift where we need to shift.
No doubt. That's what's up. And I like, because we're coming full circle back to when we started and you were talking about how, just the fun of building in Web3, right? It's like you come from gaming and you see kind of similar, it's based, like I've said this before, NFTs are gamifying life, It's like there's this new digital layer of the economy that anyone can jump into and take part in. And it's really a sandbox. It's really a creative endeavor. I want to give a shout out to Sasha and Kamani with some really great comments in the chat here. So Sasha was asking, isn't it possible that other tech-heavy countries outside of the States would still operate the Ethereum network if the States did go in that anti-Ethereum direction? And then Kamani's saying that wouldn't make sense for the government to shut down the highest transactable FDI network we've ever seen, especially with every transaction being transparent. But he also says it's not true that we can't stop it,
Yeah. Well, I think all that, all this means is that, and that's why I'm going to repeat myself. Just concentrate on creating, to be a good person. Don't suck. And create incredible stuff. And then be agile and keep a notice on this stuff, because how you do business, where you do business, it's going to evolve. By the way, that's business. The biggest challenge that we've had, and I think this is also the greatest thing, is we onboarded thousands of artists and full-time working artists now still, which is amazing. It was an explosion of economy that got slapped down by the government, but we're still at it. We're still creating good stuff. We're still going back and forth, helping each other out, building careers. That is the most, I've never seen that in my lifetime. And I'll tell you, it's the first time I've ever seen, and this is the power that we have. It's the first time that the users are driving the market. Are driving the technology. It's usually the corporations going, here's the technology, and we tell you to do it. We're driving that. So is there something that's going to be longevity here? 100%. Could I sit there and say we can't go back from an essence? You're right. You can't go back because we've all tasted it. We've all seen that we can interact. The majority of us can interact with each other with trust, right? And do good stuff and help each other. And that's the way we want to build our entertainment, our creative life. It's amazing. We're not going back on that. You can't stop that. How? Maybe this, this coin, maybe this currency, maybe this chain, maybe this platform. That's going to change, but that's business. That always happens. And that's the biggest gap, is that people had to, and that's great. I saw so many artists become so financially literate. I think you said the word right. So financially literate, business literate, intellectual property literate, technology literate. It was PhDs. That's unstoppable, and that's incredible. That's what Web3 represents.
That's what I got this podcast started for. I'm inspired by it every day, every week. I love talking to people like you and other builders in this space. It's just it's really inspiring. Yeah. Kamani's got some additional awesome comments here. He thinks that this whole conversation about regulating Ethereum and claiming that because most of the action is happening in America, therefore it's America's network, is all going to come down to probably a Supreme Court ruling and be a question of purview and all that fun on nerdy regulatory things. But I do think it's an international network. So America's America, and I agree. It's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. Yeah. But personally, I do have quite a bit of faith in the immutability of the Ethereum network, and more so in the Bitcoin network. But the Ethereum network is important because that's where these NFTs largely are living on. And that's also where the metaverse is largely being built on. So I think that the immutability of that network is very important. And having read, whether it's Vitalik, whether it's others that are building in this space, and their view towards regulatory, incursions and how to basically buffer against that, it seems pretty reliable, so I'm pretty confident in it, but I definitely see worst case scenario edge cases that could happen.
Well, I mean, I say worse, I don't know what worse is, but again, we just shift.
Yeah.
The rule, there's no hard and fast rules. The rules keep changing, but isn't that the space we're in anyway?
That's what's up. Exactly. We're adapting. We're building.
I cringe when someone gets on, hangs out with us and goes, I have this artist friend, I'm trying to convince them, and so I'm going to help them do this. It's like, if they're not willing to run and watch and really adjust, they shouldn't be here.
No, yeah. Don't try to pull their art onto the blockchain for them, right? They should be putting their art on the blockchain.
Yeah. It's why I don't trade a lot in coins. I've done that. I've not lost. No, I've never lost any money.
Wow. There you go.
I'm not a day trader, right? I'm not watching it like my son-in-law, minute by minute. Mine, week by week.
Yeah, minute by minute is stressful. I don't know how people do that.
But that's my point. People are trying to bring people in here that aren't, but you have to watch, like in this, some of the parts of the space I watch minute by minute, hypothetically. But that's what I'm saying. That's weird, but that's okay.
Yeah.
When it changes, we change, because again, we have something that is unstoppable: our creative minds, our creative expression, our community, right, and our ownership.
Word.
That's huge. That's all that matters.
With that, let's shoot over to this hustle. We'll play hustle. Give some people some inspiration as we wind down here. I'll have probably one more question for you after RUKE. Do you want to have a little intro before we play?
So while I'm doing all the dark stuff, I also have the light stuff, right, about me. And I'm like, what can I do for my friends who are out here getting, just hustling every single day, working on their, and this, I think this says something there, working on your dream, working on your business, building your legacy. I wanted to do something that honors all of us. So that's
all right. It. Beautiful. Let's go.
Alarm clocks don't need to wake me up. Passion and drive is enough. This is not work. This is not grind. These are my dreams. I got this. I got this. Hustle. This is my sword. This is my shield. This is my battlefield. I got this. I got this. Hustle. This is my command center. This is where I thrive. I control my destiny. Hustle.
That's what's up. Awesome.
OpenSea at the end of that, yeah.
That's it. Very cool.
That was real. That was a real sale.
Nice.
I was like, oh, but that's the ending right there.
That's it. Kamani says he loves it. It's really, really great. And we'll post a Twitter link. Oh, follow RUKE Inc. at RUKE Inc. And you can find that on his website at rukeinc.com. But definitely follow RUKE on Twitter. That's at RUKE Inc. We always share that in the podcast description as well. You can find the link down there, as always. So final question, RUKE.
Not INC. It's INK because I'm creative, not INC.
Right. INK. Good point.
INK.
Yes.
RUKEINK. Yeah.
That's a good point. People might assume I'm talking about the incorporated. No, INK, because he's a true artist. RUKE.com. Very cool. So last question, thoughts on, and you just kind of alluded to this, right? Talking about people who have a artist friend, which I do, who you're trying to convince to get onto the blockchain, which I have. I've convinced one of them. Another one is still dragging his feet, but it's cool. But sometimes, there is a space to have that conversation. Some people might not want to embrace the blockchain for whatever reason, misinformation, FUD, all that stuff. How are you, if at all, convincing those who maybe are listening to the FUD, to get involved? What do you say to creators who haven't jumped in yet, but you really think could find a good avenue here? What do you say to them?
I don't have people who, I have several companies, and I work with entrepreneurs every day, and creative entrepreneurs. I don't have much pushback because all I do is I give opportunities. I don't drag, I don't pull, I don't push. It's not my job. I got enough things in my life that I spend my time on and energy on. So I have, and I'm thinking of some specific ones in my mind right now, some very famous ones. There's a learning curve, there's a comfort zone, there's a complication about it that they're not wanting to go over. And if they're not open to that conversation, I sure as hell am not going to be their tech support. I'll tell you, listen, I'll give you the opposite. I had someone begging me to show them, and I said no, because I know you and I've worked with you, right? And I know your technology skills, and my team and I have had to help you with stuff. I'm not going to be the one that's going to onboard you.
Because he's just going to keep bugging you every time.
It's not just that. There's going to be mistakes because, you have to pay attention. You got to be responsible for your own actions. So I give opportunities. I tell people cool shit. I tell them this is what I'm doing. I lead by example. I don't push. I lead. And those who take me up on those opportunities, I give them the world. And I love that. So that's it.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's great advice. And that's what's up. And just give people opportunities, show that there are these awesome opportunities on the blockchain. We're out here building an amazing new layer of the creator economy. I like that you had talked about earlier how it kind of connects to, the prior creator economy, the so-called Web2 creator economy. There's a very direct line, right? It's a very direct evolution. But now with this new economic sovereignty, this new decentralized finance option, it's just a whole new layer of empowerment, right? So I want to thank Kamani and Sasha for those amazing comments and questions. Maybe I'll just quickly read Kamani's here because I love what you're talking about. He's going back to his roots, talking about being Afro-Indigenous, right? And there was a time when there were no streets, no traffic lights, and no highway patrol. And we're in that time in this digital era, We pave the streets, we set up the traffic lights, and we patrol ourselves. And that will be the behavior that's adopted. So we can't wait for the dinosaurs to weigh in. He does agree about the consumer protection regulations that are in place for good reasons, but ultimately these dinosaurs are behind us, and we got to just keep building. We got to have faith in the technology, have faith in the art and the creativity. So I appreciate that, Kamani. It's awesome. Great input. Awesome. Did you have anything else you want to add there, Ruke? And we'll wind down here.
I appreciate you. Thank you for inviting me on. I had fun. Like I said, just follow RUKE Inc. RUKEINK. I'm doing some cool stuff. I will be releasing Hustle and all that kind of stuff up here shortly. I got another episode coming out, and that's it.
Awesome. We'll be keeping watch for Hustle. It's been an amazing chat, Ruke. Probably have you back on the show another time, and I wish you all the best. And until next time, we'll be back live next Saturday. Till then, we'll see you in the metaverse.